Here we go.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Erev Shabbat services at TBO. I'm Rabbi Leah Citron, and along with Rabbi Lucy Dinner and Zemer Lexi Newell, we are grateful to be worshiping with you this Shabbat. Before we dive into our worship even further, there are just a few pieces of information I want to share before we get started. These are to help create that holy, sacred atmosphere of Shabbat, even while we are on Zoom. So if you please keep your microphone muted other than at a moment at the end and perhaps the breakout room where we ask you to unmute yourselves. If you set your camera, please to show your head and your shoulders that we can see each other's faces and smiles. And if you find that you need to step away for a moment or attend to some personal business, please just feel free to turn your camera off temporarily. If during the course of the service you have any questions or technical issues, please send a message to our TBO host, Mark, this evening. And we are going to go into breakout rooms very shortly. And when we do, if you would prefer not to participate, you may press leave breakout room and wait for everyone else to come back to the main room. So with that, we turn to our opening song.
Page 10. Hine ma tovo manayim, shevet achim gam yavad. Hine ma tovo manayim, shevet achim gam yavad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yavad.
It's hard to believe that 1 week from right now, we will be gathering together to welcome in the new year of 5781, which means that this is the last Shabbat during which we will hear the sounding of the shofar as it calls us to be awakened as we prepare for our new year.
Yeah. Devarim. Teruah. Yeah.
We welcome the light of Shabbat by lighting our candles and giving thanks for the sweetness in our Kiddush cups. And I would like to invite forward Amanda and Jen and possibly even Naomi Razicki to lead us. Oh, no, Naomi, that's okay. It's probably, bedtime. Naomi's here on the monitor, perfect. To lead us in our candles and Kiddush pages 2 and then 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'avahu v'ratzon inchilanu, zikaron l'masei v'reishit, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
With the joy of Shabbat, we also acknowledge that today is quite an infamous day in our history. That 19 years ago, the world was changed forever. And we think about that and we'll give honor to that in our service tonight. And we want to use that as our welcome question as we get sent to breakout rooms. So please share with those in your breakout room. Introduce yourselves, of course. Wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. And then share perhaps, what does 9/11 teach you?
One minute.
Are we still waiting for everyone?
continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. Yishkadavi Kedashim Rabba Bilmadi Virach Yerute Vyamlech Malchute Bechayechon Uvyomechon Uvchei Dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala Bagala Uvisman Kariv Vehimeru Amen Yehesh Merabba Mevarach Le'alam Le'almaya Yitbarach Yiparach Vishtabach Viparvit Romam Vitnatsi Vitodar Vitale Vitalal Shemedi Kudisha Barechu Le'elamin Kol Birchata Vishirata Tushbechata Benechemata Damiran Be'alma Vehimeru Amen.
As we turn to the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, I invite you to rise as you wish and as you are able in your spaces this Shabbat. We won't be making announcements about rising and sitting throughout the service, but we still encourage you to do so as it fits your space.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Barechu et Adonai. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yalla lai lai Yalla lai 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 lai lai.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmertehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons and yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevu אותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe my commandments, and be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. We continue on the top of page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Elohei
79.
Hashkivenu Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We give thanks for Shabbat with the words of Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש.
Ordinarily, when we get to tefillah, the central prayers of our worship, we chant them in Hebrew for the first three prayers and even the introduction, and we miss some of the really beautiful English on these pages. And so to open our tefillah in a way that is a little different from our normal custom, we will share in some of the English on these pages and then transfer into the Hebrew. We'll begin on page 47. You may rise as you wish. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. And page 49. In memory of those who perished in 9/11. Some perished by fire, some by water. Some crossed the sea or watered the desert. Some starved all week to make a Shabbat feast. Some were left childless until old age. Some lifted their chins beneath a father's knife. Those who came before us gave everything so that we, generations later, could glorify you. And despite the dangers, with your protection, some did survive and even flourished. Some reaped in joy and were spared the knife, were granted children. We are their inheritors, O God. And now we know how rare is our good fortune to be born to such hard-won treasures. A great responsibility is ours and yours as well. For if you do not sustain us as you did Abraham and Sarah, Rebekah and Isaac, Jacob, Rachel and Leah, then who will sing your praises? Who will lift their chins as we do now to sanctify your name? Baruch atah Adonai poked Sarah umagen Avraham. Page 50.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומת נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל, אתה הקדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page 55. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us with your complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shakas, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet, sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temple are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. With thanks for the opportunity to give these prayers, we join our voices in prayer for peace, page 60.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Chad. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Chad Asim le'olam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Chad. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Chad Asim le'olam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. Give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamidaber et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. We pause now for that search for inner peace, the peace of silent prayer of our heart.
Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow. Try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were a tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life life was so tender, the dreams were kept beside your pillow. Try to remember when life was so tender, that love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, although you know the snow will follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, without a hurt, the heart is hollow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember the fire of September that made us mellow. Deep in December, our hearts will remember and follow.
This week's Torah portion is a double parsha, Nitzavim Vayelech. Frankly, most of the time we rabbis focus on Nitzavim. I mean, after all, it's so close to the holidays. We read Nitzavim again at Yom Kippur. It's just so obvious what we should read. And it's so rote. It's right there before us. We're reading it, we're preparing it, we're doing a devar on it. But what about Vayelech? That one chapter from the book of Deuteronomy, so often neglected, and yet it encapsulates so much of what it means to live as a Jew, to face the difficulties in life, to move forward, and to take individual responsibility. As we walk through this 19th anniversary of 9/11, let's walk through Vayelech and its substantial teachings. Hizku v'imtzu, chapter 31, verse 8. Be strong and of good courage. Moses tells the Israelites this as he prepares to part with them and transfers leadership to Joshua. Moses knows the Israelites have been leaning on him for strength. He reminds them that they have their own strength, and they will need to dig deep into that inner well as they go into the land of Israel and face the challenges that are ahead. Strength comes from within. When the adrenaline kicks in, yes, that strength carries us, whether the strength of fight or flight. Each of us nurtures our own inner strength, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then we call on it when we need it most. 9/11 was one of those times when we needed to conjure up strength, our inner strength. The whole world stopped and picked up and then cocooned off to themselves. I sped to school and yanked my kids out and brought them home. I built a little fortress around them. My husband came home to take care of them, and I joined a cadre of clergy at the WRAL station to offer prayers, fighting off the horror and fear of what was unfolding. That strength did not magically appear that day, that I could bring it all together at once. No, that strength was part of my own muscle memory, my physical muscle, my intellectual muscle, my spiritual muscle, all nurtured in various ways in order to prepare me for when I most needed that strength that day. We each have our own strengths and our own way of nurturing those strengths. I work out. Well, I try to work out 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a week. It is a form of prayer for me, as important to my emotional and spiritual strength as it is to my physical strength. It strengthens my body. It frees my mind from clutter. And it washes away the distractions. What about you? How do you nurture your inner strength? What builds your strength? Is it exercise that is physical or something else? Take a moment now, if you will, and share it in the chat. What is it that nurtures the strength that is inside of you? Tikkun olam, bike riding, walking in the forest, gardening, meditation, volunteering, family Zoom visits, the love of family and friends. There's so much that gives us strength, different things for different people and different things for each one of us that fills that inner well of strength. But what of the rest of the verse of good courage? If we're mustering up all that inner strength, what does good courage have to add to it? Ibn Ezra, the insightful early Torah commentator, teaches, "You are of good courage," reminds us that we are not alone. God is standing with us to give us courage. Ibn Ezra bases that upon the verses before and after this one that remind the Israelites that God is with them in this journey as a pillar of smoke. We don't have God with us as a pillar of smoke nor a column of fire, unless unfortunately you live out west these days, where they might describe God's presence not as courage, but as wrath. Even there, amidst the fires, they need courage as well as strength. We need courage that comes not from what is inside, but from our outer support. The knowledge that God is with us when we need God the most. In one form or another, God helps us endure. For some, God's presence refuels through quiet meditation. For others, it is in researching for answers to make sense of the world. Still others find it in uniting with community, hearing others' prayers and stories, or joining forces to build a better world. We need the inner strength that we exercise in one way or another on our own. And we need the courage of God's presence wherever we find that outside of ourselves, those things that support us and gird us, that give us courage. If you would like, you can share now in the chat, what gives you courage? Where is God's strength coming for you when you need it the most? So many answers here coming in the chat. Prayer for many of you. Courage that comes in your heart. Daily prayer. Love of family. To be a role model for children. To be good trouble by speaking out on what I think is wrong. There are so many places. Deep breathing. Prayer, especially interprayer. Courage comes to each of us, again, in individual ways. And so this unique portion combines strength and courage, and it brings them together with a final lesson in Torah, as Moses actually literally finishes writing the book that he calls Torah, that he hands to the priest, that is to be read before all the people, not just the men, but men, women, children, and the strangers in their midst. Yes, all of them, even those not yet born, must hear this Torah. It must be read in front of the entire community, the Parsha says, every 7 years. Torah is not only available for all of us, it's an obligation for all of us to claim it and to live it. In the same way that I cannot define where you get your strength or where that courage comes outside of you from God, I cannot define how you will hear Torah, how you will claim Torah, how you will live Torah. The beautiful thing about it is that the Torah takes 10 people to make a minyan, to read it, to hear it. We cannot have Torah without our community. And so when we read it, we have to come together to be with one another, to say amen to each other's prayers. Torah connects us and it compels us. We face this anniversary of 9/11 standing together as we prepare for the days of awe. We have courage because God's presence girds us. And when we pray and when we study and when we nurture community, we have strength. The cantors of the American Cantorial Conference recorded this beautiful rendition of the strength and courage of coming together and standing together in this beautiful interpretation of Hizkuv Imutz, be strong and of good courage.
Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you, for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, we stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. You feel alone and you're confused. You witness hatred and abuse. You don't know what to do. You see the world is full of strife. So many seek a better life. You ask, what can I do? Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you, for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, we stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong. We stand strong.
No more hatred, no more war. We will rise up one day more. We know what to do. We will love, not fight our way. That's our promise for today. This is what we'll do.
Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you, for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, we stand strong. We stand strong. We stand
Take my hand, I'll take yours. Together we can open doors. If you see me and I see you, for who we are, then we'll get through. If we sing one song, if we sing one song, if we sing one song, we stand strong. We are not alone.
We stand strong. We are not alone. And so as we stand strong and are not alone, we stand with all in this current tragedy now facing our country. At 9/11, we really did stand strong together. And that is what we need now more than ever. Standing together from each of our safe homes, standing together in our resolve to beat this pandemic, standing together in our resolve to beat down racism in our society. We stand strong. I feel your presence and I offer mine to you. I offer mine to you. And so too, we stand with those who face illness and pain in their lives, with these members of our congregation and those that you include with us tonight. Paul Agris, Sue Brim, Meg Cosgrove, Betty Cross, Sharon Davis, Carlene Dubin, Harav Yisrael Gadal Ben Batya, Steve Fort Lewis, Molly Freed, Dave Griffith, Anita Lederer, Ray Levine, Wendy Newby, Candy Paul, Rudy Paris, Sir, Jackie Schlesinger, Laura Stein, Bruce Wayne, Alan Weinberg, Abel Zockberg, and Tina Schultz. For all of those that we have named, for all of those that we are praying for in our hearts, we say, Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. May God be with you in healing your pain, body and soul. Amen.
Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Grant peace to all our days.
Page 282 through 287. We rise as you are able for the words of Alinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלוקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככולם עונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Page 293. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and every nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this time, we call to mind the recent loss of Henrietta Swartz and Dolores Freifeld, and we mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of passing of Minnie Evans Brown, Dora Ezrati, Bert Fort Lewis, Kurt Glass, Stephen Nathaniel Gould, Sigmund Felix Hiller, Theodore Klein, Maurice Kleinman, Moses Elias Moses, Miriam Elias Moses, Sarah Bess Mernick, Max Newman, Norman Pliner, Marilyn Reich, Ida Rubenstein, Sadie N. Schaefer, Amy Danielle Schiller, Charles Seligson, Lance Schaefer, Leon Sheff, Ira Shearer, Phyllis Siegel, Alfred Weinstein, and the victims of 9/11, and those who have died of COVID in our world. We turn now to the words of the Kaddish, saying, Zikronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. We recite these words in their name. Yitkadal v'yitkadash merabah, ve'alma divrach yiruteh ve'almich malchuteh, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayeh de kol beit Yisrael, v'agla uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam omei almaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei de kudusha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, u'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol b'nei Adam, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high create peace for us and all Israel and all the world, and together let us say, Amen. And now I invite forward our board member, Wendy McHenry.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Wendy McHenry, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to say thank you for joining us for our Shabbat service this evening. It has been so uplifting to me to see our community coming together virtually, being together in spirit even when we cannot be together physically. We mourn with those who mourn for lives lost on September 11th, and my prayers have been with you today. A week from tonight is the start of Rosh Hashanah. Today's email from TBO shares resources for you about the High Holy Days. Please take a look at the schedule and familiarize yourself with the programming coming up for the High Holy Days. The landing page for Rosh Hashanah can be found at tboraleigh.org/RH. Tomorrow night is the Slichot concert and service with Dan Nichols. We begin Erev Rosh Hashanah, Friday, September 18th, with Rabbi Citron at 6 p.m. as we prepare to sit down to our holiday meal. Join us as Rabbi Citron will utilize the many symbols of Rosh Hashanah to help us greet the new year as well as Shabbat. That will be followed by Erev Rosh Hashanah intention setting at 7 p.m. and Erev Rosh Hashanah worship services will be at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank our clergy and our staff for designing such a meaningful set of programs for the High Holy Days, and we look forward to celebrating the new year with you all. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If there's anything you need, anything at all, you can do so through the website at tboraleigh.org, or you can send me a private chat message this evening. Thank you to everyone for helping to make TBO such a special place for all of us. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova.
And so we move now to our closing song as we join together in building strength and building blessing.
The words for our closing song tonight can't be found in our prayer book, but they were written in song form by Rabbi Menachem Creditor the day after 9/11 on September 12th in 2001. And these words, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, we must build this world from love. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, yalalai, 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 let's try it together. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, yalalai, 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 Olam Chesed Yibaneh. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. If we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam chesed, olam chesed libaneh, olam chesed libaneh.
We, my friends, standing together, can turn to God, can return at this season, can build this world from love. With God's help, and so God, on this Shabbat, as the year is coming close to its end, we reach out to you and pray. Pour your love into our hearts. Pour your love as we stand together, even now apart. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. And I invite you to unmute and reach out to everyone. With Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see everyone. You even let us see you on camera tonight.
Hi, Luz.
Hello, Annette. It's good to see you.
Hi, Judah.
Joanne.